what's up, killer?
What it do? We about to do this 20-minute knockout podcast fatherhood game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yo, Kay's not with us today. It's like a rotation here.
He didn't tell us. Did he?
No. Well, maybe he did, and we just missed it. So we'll just go with that because we tend to miss stuff in our group text.
Yeah, because I thought we had a guest today. You said that you wasn't gonna make it, and somebody was gonna be a guest. So I'm all lost.
No, but we got guests on deck though. We got some guests coming up.
Sure, we do, buddy.
You want to talk about that text you sent a couple days ago about the latest round of shootings?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about a couple incidences. So you had the kid that walked up to the wrong house to pick up his siblings.
I think that was in Missouri, if I remember correctly.
Kansas City,
Missouri. Yeah.
And apparently the homeowner just starts shooting through the door. Doesn't even answer the door.
Yeah.
Seems to be racially motivated. Even if it's not, it's just whatever. It's just bad all around. So that's fucking terrible. That shit sunk my heart.
That was the victim's name is Ralph Yarl.
Yeah. Seemed like a good kid. And again, just wrong house. Like, how many times have people, even if a kid, like, this is what this leads me to. Like, imagine back in the days when we were kids and we would go and knock on the doors and run.
Yeah.
Like,
you know how many kids would be dead based on today's times when we were doing that?
I wonder if people did die back then. We just didn't know it because we didn't have
all the media that we do now.
The internet. But
it's fun. So in the same vein, right? Like, all the time, bro. It's like a joke with my family at this point. Like, we'll be driving somewhere and then I might have missed my turn, and then I'll pull in a little bit to somebody's driveway.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
And pull out to make the U-turn, right? And so, but the way I do it is I'm like, I'm like talking to my family and I'm like, oh, we're just gonna make a quick stop here, and then I like pull in, get enough into the driveway, and then I pull right back out. And I'm like, okay, hi, bye, and then now it's like a thing. Every time I do it, the kids are like, hi, bye. So it's like innocent, right? And I don't think many people would have an issue with that, but even something like that could spark some craziness like what we're seeing.
I don't know, man. Look, this goes back to what I was talking to you a couple episodes ago. It's like, how do you not stress day in and day out about your kid's safety with you and without you? Like, even with you, it feels like anything can go down,
there's no, you're not wrong, right? Like, there's constantly signals out here showing reason for concern, right? Like, it runs the gamut. But the challenge is like, but you can only personally be responsible or retain emotions or have enough emotions to go certain distance, right? So like, you got to kind of like try to find a middle ground, but it's more and more complicated every day.
Yeah, and I would recommend to parents out there, and I'm talking to myself really, is try to get off of reading a lot of the news and getting, scrolling too much, because that constant negative exposure to stuff is really stressful, man, because it makes you just think, as many times as you see something, you feel like, man, the probability of something happening is so high. Where if you take a break from that, and you try to watch or look at lighter things, happier things, more positive things, your outlook and feel of life is a lot better. And that, I find that to be 100% true. But I have an addiction to wanting to know what's happening out there. I'm not entertained, but I'm intrigued and I love to be educated on the world's happenings. But in that knowledge comes
toxicity.
Yeah, it's just crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Do you have a fear of missing out?
Not really.
It's more just education for you, or like intriguing topics that you want to know more about.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things I don't care about that I just don't care about. But there's very specific things like I like to know about world and international news, domestic news, things that are polarizing to kind of get the pulse of society.
Mhm.
You know, I like to be informed so that it can, you know, I don't know, it dictates my my compass in a sense in society, like to know where we're at, you know, and be able to speak to people and I don't know, you can gauge people better by knowing what's going on. That's my idea of it.
It's a lens for you to view society. It helps you create that lens.
Yeah, and I also love to be able to converse with people who can converse about, you know, these polarizing topics or international things happening, and it affects us. And that's the thing, like ignorance is bliss,
Yeah.
100%. But how much bliss until you bliss yourself into fucking into a, you know, into the whole, like if you don't understand what's going on with the economy, if you don't understand how international geopolitical things affect our economy, all these different things, like how do you prepare? And then let's just say, oh no, I want to be blissful and I want to just be happy with my family. I'll disconnect from that. But then all of a sudden you didn't save money, you didn't invest money, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and you're overspending because you think, no, the economy's great, everything's fine. No, no, no. Come to find out, no, there's a fucking trade war with China, and the war in Ukraine make oil gas go up. You know, like for example, in Miami,
Yeah.
we had a weird storm that came through here. It was
Yeah.
like a hurricane without being a hurricane, and it only hit like a certain part of this of like the state. So like parts of Fort Lauderdale and North Miami, and I was seeing stuff about North Miami, downtown Miami Beach being flooded. That's normal.
Yep.
Always get flooded. But apparently Fort Lauderdale got hella flooded.
Yeah. The airport was underwater. That shit looked
Airport
crazy.
was underwater, which shows me that we're in trouble in South Florida, because if they can't protect the airport, which is a vital, you know, thing for the city, then that means they don't have a clue on how to protect, you know, the neighborhoods in the entire city.
Yeah. So when are you moving? Because you know it's going underwater at some point in the next.
Yeah, we're moving
years.
soon. Well, soon in years. But anyways, so that happens and nobody thinks anything of it. Okay, it flooded. That's a normal occurrence in South Florida. Flooding. Fort Lauderdale was a little bit extra, but people in Miami, let's say, were like, whatever, bro. We're used to it. Key Biscayne, Biscayne, Brickell. I mean, for downtown, that always floods. Now, I happened to go like a morning after that, those couple days that happened. I go to my gas station that's right down the street from my crib, and I noticed that it's all taped up. It's usually packed. This gas station, it's a 7-Eleven, one of those mega ones. It's usually packed. There's nobody there. I even like a dick pull in, like, oh, maybe there's one pump that doesn't have tape and nobody just wants to stop here. Nope, they're all out of gas. Oh, that's weird. Boom, I go down the street to another gas station and there's no gas there, but one pump had just regular gas, which is what I needed.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, everything else is sold out. Oh, that's crazy. I pump. Then I said, well, it's morning. It's like a Monday or something like that, school day. And I Google gas. Boom. All of a sudden, there seems to be a problem with a gas shortage due to the flooding, because it caused something wrong with the transportation for the gas, and some fuel tanks supposedly were inundated underwater. Something. The next few days, bro, it was like a hurricane had hit where there's a gas shortage. The streets were desolate like fucking COVID times because people couldn't drive. You go by a gas station and everybody's fucking there in a line for 2 hours trying for one pump. And I'm like, no, I say all of that to say it goes back to like, if you know, nobody, like everybody's like, what's going on? Everybody was lost and surprised because they weren't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to just know because I noticed it early enough, and then I Googled it and I figured it out. But it goes back to like, if you're not paying attention, now people like my girl, she took my kids to school and she's like, I only have gas for that. Now I don't even have gas to pick them up. And she was fucking going crazy trying to find gas all over the city.
Yeah.
So,
but like I'm that person, right?
Catch 22.
I'm that person that rarely is paying attention to the news. Like I'm not. I got for a lot of the same reasons you just advised, right? Like the negatives far outweigh the positives in a lot of, generally speaking.
Right. You obviously pay attention to the Vidal Sassoon commercials because
all day. You like
look
that?
At your frohawk.
Like that shit? Yeah. but I worry about it sometimes because I will be out of touch, right? In certain cases. So like the gas thing, we had a conversation with somebody, a relative of ours in Florida, and they had mentioned like, yo, gas is crazy. And they made it sound like it was a national shortage, right? And so I'm Googling, I'm looking at the local news, I'm looking around, I'm like, that's not here. What's going on? And that's how I learned about it. But Googling as well, right? So like for me, I'm still team ignore the news because the negative impact, generally speaking, is it just kind of destroys you, right? It doesn't give you that opportunity to like be in a positive mind state very much.
All right.
And the other thing I'll tell you, and I know you don't do this, well, it's harder in Florida, but walking, uninterrupted walking in nature, bro, the benefits just, I can't even list them all. It's tremendous for the mind.
In nature. Yeah. Number one.
Outside. Even if it's down the street, you're more in nature than you are in your house.
Right. We walked yesterday and I was annoyed.
Because you were sweating.
No, because I get mad at my girl because, well, I'll come home from the gym. I'll go upstairs and change into what I'm going to wear as pajamas. We'll have dinner. And to me, the night is over. It's time to put the kids. She always wants to take a walk at that point. And I'm like,
That's a
bro,
good thing.
No, I get it. But I'm in my mind, I'm like, yo, my mind has shut off. I'm in my pajamas, bro. And we just had dinner. Like I'm lethargic. Like I'm done. And she's like, hey, take a walk. And like once in a blue moon, but she always does it. And I got pissed yesterday.
That's unreasonable, bro. You got to pick your fights.
No. Well, I guess yesterday, I don't know. She said I was PMSing, but
yeah, probably. That sounds about right.
No.
When I spoke to you, you didn't sound like it, but at the end of the day, it's a whole different ballgame.
I just sometimes, bro, you just want simple shit, bro. Like, why can't people just, I don't know.
Go out in your PJs. That's real popping in Florida.
No, I'm not into that. I mean, what I wore still looked like my PJs. How do you? And of course, we walk, and what happens? We fucking come face to face with another fucking couple with kids, and we end up having we end up having like a conversation for like 20 minutes with them. Yeah, so I'm like, there goes. Had I know we were gonna go on a play date, I would have fucking put on my polo.
Yo, real quick, touching back on your kids. It sounded like the tables have turned as far as like your daughter and son's relationship. At some point, like now your son's like pushing back on your daughter.
Yeah, he's worse now.
He's worse.
He's the little jerk now. She's actually matured in the sense where she's not reactive as much to him anymore. She's not the one setting it off. He's setting it off.
Oh,
he's being like selfish with things, wanting, me, or like he just like wants more of us, which makes me feel bad for my daughter. Like the other day he hit her. They've been hitting each other, but he hit her, and she didn't think to hit him back. Took it like a G.
Damn.
And he hits pretty hard.
Somebody was talking to me the other day about how his daughters fight, and they're 13 and like 15, so they're older. And like when one gets on the other one, like she'll pop her in the mouth. And the girl has braces, so she pops her in the mouth. It's instant blood.
Oof.
But then I'm like, so the dad's telling me the story, and I'm like, and then he's like, and then I do the Homer Simpson, and he just like backs into the bush, and like disappears, right? And I'm like, yo, what's the reaction between your daughters after that happens, right? Because I could imagine shit goes crazy. And apparently, like, I don't know how that works, but like it just dies. Like the one that got hit stays hit and is not even crying. The other one's just like off doing the other whatever she's getting into, and it's a wrap. I'm like, that's kind of good and kind of bad at the same time, because like, if any of my kids are bleeding, there's at least a screaming match after something like that.
Right.
But I thought that shit was funny.
I feel like we didn't give, not to say justice, but those incidences that we've started to talk about.
Oh yeah.
The severity, I feel like we didn't give it justice in terms of speaking on, but man, could you imagine the parents?
I can't, bro. That's where my mind goes immediately. Is that how can you be a parent experiencing something like this and not be, I don't know, fucking fainting every 5 seconds, when you come to the realization that your kid is no longer here or in critical condition over some stuff like this. It's the wildest shit.
Yeah, this world is whack, bro.
Something about that too, like so this young man, Ralph, got shot in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing it happen. I guess if you look at the media, it feels like it's a Southern thing, or at least they're trying to position it that way, right? Because of all the politics around gun laws and whatnot. And there's truth to it, but there's one case that I know of that happened recently here in New York State, in upstate New York, where a young lady ended up in a driveway, like her friend turned into the wrong driveway, and she was shot and killed. She was like 20 years old, right? And again, like those other cases that we keep hearing about seem to have some racial motivation behind them. This one was white lady that happened to get shot, right? And in upstate New York also. So like the geography isn't so much shouldn't be surprised by, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The incident is happening everywhere.
What was the motivation? Like, what is the shooter saying in that situation?
I didn't get into. I mean, I kind of just saw the headline and just like rolled my eyes and just like ran away. But it was like in some obscure part of New York, like not anywhere near close to the city. But yeah, I'm sure it's like a self-defense thing. A defense from what? I don't know, but it's how it's going down.
Man, I don't know, bro. Like I said, it's just
Respect for
stressful.
guns, I think is the starting point. Like having respect for.
I mean, not even that's beyond that's beyond that conversation. That's mishandling of guns. That's mental health, because obviously there's paranoia.
Yeah.
Like if you see the man in Missouri, he's like an old man and probably like an old racist man, and he's probably paranoid. And that's easily. I was talking to you off camera about, there's different things that can create paranoia. And it's easy to like give it just not what's the words that I'm looking for? Give
Justify it.
To justify it, correct.
Yeah.
To justify it. So I just think we're living in like a hyperbolic world where everybody's like on edge. I mean, think about it. Like we're in a war right now and people don't even know it.
Mhm.
That could potentially be World War III. I talk about it all the time. We got an economic war happening. World War III economically is happening already. And then we have all these social, domestic problems where it seems like racial tensions seem to be at an all-time high. The economic gap, tension is also at an all-time high. There's just a lot of things going on.
Yeah. Just trying to control what I can control, man. Like otherwise I'm gonna drive myself crazy.
And then we're in this weird time machine.
Back to the Future type?
Nah, it's like you don't ever think to yourself, like, okay, I'm thinking to myself right now, and then I'm gonna blink and I'm gonna be thinking to myself in 20 years. I'm gonna blink and I'm gonna be thinking to myself, hopefully and another 20 years after that, or 10 years, and then no more blinking.
And then your eyes are closed.
And it happens so fast because we're all in our 40s. You're in your 40s, right?
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm in my early 40s.
What are you?
Male, heterosexual.
No, bro.
male.
What's your age, bro? What do you think? You're a fucking pop star? You can't say your age?
I don't give a shit. I'm 42.
Okay, you're in your 40s, bro. So we're in our 40s, and I'm sure that we could kind of think back to being, young preteens or teens saying, oh, I can't imagine being that old age.
I would have, yeah. I'd never ever had a thought about being 40 when I was younger. Like, that wasn't even a thing. It was always like 21. And then from there, I just hit 40. From after I hit 21, I hit 40, it felt like. And I didn't even get a chance to think about it.
And that's, I don't know if I've ever said it here, but I've said it like on social media. I think that I feel adults are just children trying to imitate adults or trying to act like adults. And what that leads me to believe is there's so much that has to happen for your real maturity in the future as a kid. Like, there's so many things that can derail it, so many things that can help you mature properly, because really and truly, that's what I believe. I believe we're all fucking just kids in adult bodies playing the best adult role that we can.
Faking until we make it.
Faking until we die an old person.
Yeah. There's some, I mean, I think that's profound, honestly, because like, it's true. And I try to let that be known to my kids, right? Because there's this authority that comes with being an adult that is perceived by younger people, when in reality, like, I'm just an older version of you in a sense, right? Like, I have more lived experience. So that
experiences, right?
It gives me a different level of understanding, but I'm no better than you. And I try not to tell my kids what to do very much, because I don't feel like I don't own them, right? I'm here just to guide them. And on some level, while I don't want to be their friend, I don't want them to feel like I am the single authority, or their mom and I are the single authorities, right? Because to your point, like, I'm trying to figure this shit out just as much as they are in a lot of cases, right?
Right.
So it's true, like, we adults do kind of play that role, and I think that's the expectation. So I find myself doing that shit all the time myself, but we probably should be more realistic about it.
Yeah, but I also think that goes back to, and I'm not saying I know the answer to parenting for this, but there's a lot I think that needs to be instilled in children and young adults, teenagers, preteens, all that will help them be more prepared to have those tools to play in the world of adulthood.
You know what I think the single biggest thing is for that? For them to be armed with, like, if I had to pick one tool, confidence.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like we live in such a fucked up world that it's so easy to strip confidence from people. Like, if you think everything out there that is entertainment is basically something shooting at you with anti-confident bullets.
Yeah. It's breaking people down.
So, yeah, I mean, I think best case, of course, having confidence is amazing. But how many people do you really know in this world with real, true, absolute confidence?
In silos, I know I can point to different people, but as a whole, having like general confidence, not many.
Because I've met people, and I was going to say this in another way, but I can add the confidence to it. I've met grown ass people in certain positions in life that I'm like, when I meet them and they kind of like, I don't want to say humble themselves, but just kind of like let down the barriers, I'm a little disappointed as to how immature they truly are. And then it shows me how they lack confidence.
They're insecure.
How insecure they are. And it's scary to me because I'm like, no, I expected you to be the example of true maturity, the example of an adulthood, example of confidence. And I'm like, oh man, we're all fucked. You know what I'm saying?
My hero in this department is not him.
I mean, I think we, not to single this person out, but I think we all saw that with Will Smith.
Yeah.
I think
That
we
moment.
all held him up to that standard of, machismo and confidence, and he had all the attributes that most males wanted to be.
Fire to be.
And then we saw him as a human, as just a regular, insecure, vulnerable human, which is totally, he's human, understandable, but it shows you the vulnerabilities in all of us.
Which I think is not a bad thing. Because like confidence doesn't have to be on 24/7. It's just you have to be able to be aware of when you're doubting yourself and kind of get to the root of why and resolve it. Easier said than done. Absolutely. But that's ultimately like the game plan so that you can get back to like, I'm the shit, or whatever your version of feeling confident is, so that you can then proceed achieving whatever you're trying to achieve. And I spend a lot of time talking to my kids, trying to frame it different ways so that they can start to understand like I'm much more superior than I might give myself credit for. Right. I'm almost like to the point where I don't even care about if their ego goes through the roof right now, because I feel like confidence is so low for a lot of kids. So I'm almost like, fuck it. If you become like a narcissist out of this, I feel like that might be more advantageous, even though narcissists have like tons of insecurities. So that's not what I'm looking for.
Sure.
But you know what I'm saying? Like may come across like cocky, and I'd rather that be confused than you have really low self-esteem.
Well, I think when you said silos, I'm assuming you meant that they're confident in certain departments.
Right.
So that's probably the key to it, is helping our kids and ourselves, but our kids is what we're talking about here. Find what makes them confident. What in their life, what is their lane? Like what can create confidence for them? Because they just need to lean on something that they are confident about in themselves. But to know that they're never going to be, nobody's ever going to be fully confident about everything. And if they act like they are, like we just gave you the example, it's usually not there. And usually there's a big fall off point if they portray that for too long.
Yeah. And by the way, that's okay. You can't be that across the board. That's not realistic. Right. So, but you're right. Like, have them focus on that thing or two things or whatever it is that they are really good at or feel like they are. And that can be kind of the blueprint for them. Like, yo, if you're ever not feeling confident and the place where you need to be confident, think about where you're strong and why you're strong there, and try to apply it.
And tell them again, and this is where I guess for us, the advantage is in aging, to look at every experience as a confident builder, no matter what happens, because experience is where you can kind of like reflect and say, I got through something good or bad. I was able to do something positive, or I got through something bad and I got through the other side of it. That is a huge confident builder when you reach moments in your life that are unpredictable or uncomfortable.
On the same note, like even if you caught an L, right?
That's what I mean.
Well, right, but especially because like if you could take that L in many different ways, right? You could take it like, I'm a failure, I fucked up, and be lamenting the whole thing, or and take the experience as a win essentially, and like, yo, I learned something about myself, and that should instill broader confidence to try new things.
I know we probably got to get out of here, but you just touched on something that I've been thinking about that sucks for our generation and for generations to come, unless something drastically changes. That whole thing that you're saying about that L, use that, get past it, blah, blah, blah. It sucks that we live in an age where an L is recorded, it's documented, and it is cycled back. It's recycled and regurgitated to you over and over again if need be.
Yep.
So you relive that L.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different levels, obviously, of that happening depending on how you live your life. But that's whack. That is people whack. Can't move past, who they were when they made a mistake.
Yeah, because that assumes you're the same person, which 90% of the time that's not the case.
Right.
But yeah, we got a lot of work to do, bro, as human beings.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
All right, bro. I'll see you later.
I gotta mature.
Yeah, kill those insecurities, okay?
I'm gonna get that Beijing. I'm gonna age myself backwards like 20 years. I'm gonna go play some paintball.
There you go. All right, y'all.
Peace, yo.